Empowering listeners from the US to the UK. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5. You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your number one resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Prepare yourself.
Okay, let's go.
How you feeling today, Peter?
I'm great. Wonderful, Steve. Thank you.
Peter Tuchman in the house. Peter. Woo! Wow.
Yes,
Wow, that's all I have to say.
you know what? I listened to the intro, and you talk about you don't play the social game, but you are social. And it just made me, my head went, pow. It's such an opening line. We are so bound in our social media and our message and all this stuff. And it's so important to, for me, it's important to identify with another human being. You and I, Steve, we just recently met. And, it's funny when you click with someone and you're sort of, you connect with them on so many different levels right away. I'm somebody who you get the feeling and something's right and this feels right. So I'm thrilled to be here, Steve.
I'm super proud, super honored. And I'm going to honestly say for anyone who is listening and to everyone who is listening, Peter Tuchman is literally a prayer answered. He came in my life at the perfect time, came in my life at the perfect place. And not only is he the most photographed man on Wall Street, he's an art collector, he's an investor, but he's also the New York Stock Exchange's most iconic stockbroker. And I'm going to tell you, I was one of those people to where stock market, investments, and then I had to think about, okay, what really makes the stock market different than anything else? And then I had this aha moment. And as I shared with Peter, I'm like, this is all real estate. When you think of Apple, Google, Facebook, I think of it as a property owner. And then when you go on to Yahoo Finance, you put in their information, just like in real estate, this comp sheet comes up. All these variables, all this information here. But more importantly, as we're going to dive deeper into that, I was invited to a seminar, online seminar. Peter and David were teaching this. George Lopez was the sponsor or presenter of this for the what's that?
He was our guest host.
And then the proceeds were going to the George Lopez Foundation. And Peter, take it from there. I mean, where do we begin?
You know what? I think I'm glad you brought us into that part because that's sort of the culmination of where I am today. And then we can we can go back and get, see how I got here. But, I love sharing experience, strength, and hope. So where I am here today on a Wednesday in July, is an amazing place. We sort of make these choices in our lives of what to do with our time, what to do with our relationships, and how to define ourselves. And what I mentioned during the interview, so let's give everyone a quick backdrop. So I'm a connector. That's my forte. I don't own stocks personally. I'm a trader on the floor of the stock exchange, but I know a lot of people. A lot of people have come into my sphere in my world. And what I like to do is I like to look at a broad picture and I like to put people together that I think will empower each other and to create, motivate, and inspire. That's my goal. I have a wonderful career, which I just, one of my mottos is, if you find something you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. I've been on Wall Street for 35 years. I've had quite a wild roller coaster journey, some profitable, some not, some spiritually grounded in peace and serenity, some wild and crazy and fraught with obstacles. But where I am today is, and I think it's important to focus on where we are today, is we're in the midst of a huge crisis, right? We're in the midst of this pandemic. And I believe, and I watched an interview you did the other day. I watched the other day an interview you had done, and you talked about fear, right? And I think it's important to note that, we cannot let this crisis define us right now. It's a matter of what we do while we are here, locked in, sheltered in place, and fraught with fear and anxiety for the most part, and basically, viewing and experiencing a pretty heavy biblical situation, right? I don't think ever in history have we ever had a situation where there's not a soul on earth who has not been affected in some way, financially, spiritually, physically, emotionally, personally, by this pandemic and by this crisis. Literally scorched the earth situation. So I find myself really, having to go to try and be of service, right? I mean, my story is big and wild. Let me sort of not get completely off track. Steve and I connected through a relationship that I've recently put together. I'm going to start at the top of where I am right now, while in the midst of not back on the floor of the stock exchange due to recovery from the COVID virus and the fact that the floor is running on a thinner schedule of employees due to the pandemic and due to social distancing and whatnot. I found a lot of time on my hands to work to put people together. That's where my spiritual vision has taken me. And so I was connected with two people, Gabby and Anthony, Gabby Berespo and Anthony Delgado, who run Latino Wall Street and Wall Street University, which is a platform for Latin community, Spanish-speaking people in the investment, to learn about investment day trading. I happen to have been friends for many, many years with a gentleman named David Green, who was a trader on the floor of the stock exchange when I got there in 35 years ago. We started together. He went on to become a market maker and a specialist, retired at the age of 40, went off, tried to trade, lost a bunch of money, and then realized that the discipline and the foundation and the education one must learn to trade a market when you're not on the floor of the stock exchange is education, is to really learn the discipline of day trading. So he's gone on over the last 10 plus years. He started a day trading school 10 years ago. He had people from all over the world come down. He was on Wall Street in an office, and he is a trader. He's an investor. Has a background on the floor of the stock exchange, but his calling was clearly to educate and share his discipline and solution to the wild and crazy life that day trading is. And so suddenly I had sort of an aha moment recently while I was sort of sitting a little bit sheltered in place and wondering, what's my next move here? And I did an interview with Anthony and Gabriella, who run Latino Wall Street, about who I was, about me, the floor of the stock exchange, my experience. It had nothing to do with the day trading part. And it was empowering. It was wonderful to see the two people whose lives sort of took them back to Puerto Rico after the hurricane to be of service to the community. And they've built this incredible platform based on education. That being said, they started telling me about their platform. I always carry David Green around in my back pocket because as somebody who trades on the floor of the stock exchange, but I've never owned a share of stock in my life. So I don't do that. I trade for other people, for the customers of my company. But I know the challenges of day trading on any given day, let alone in the midst of a wild, volatile crisis. So I carry David around in my pocket because his discipline, his consistency is something that's a baseline for me. And I always go to it, whether I'm on the phone with him chatting or whether it's just how I judge my day. So I decided, what an incredible opportunity. I know that there are people who are now 40 million, 28 to 30 million people are out of work. So many businesses have shut down. The economic challenges globally, domestically, in every industry, from hospitality to cruise lines, to airlines, to factories, to whatever it is, while we see the stock market rallying up in a crazy way due to stimulus since the March 23rd low, we've got a global economy that is in deep, deep trouble. And so I saw this, I had this vision that, God, there must be hundreds of thousands of people who are sitting at home fearful of their future, their financial future, right? And I thought, what an awesome opportunity to harness, not to harness fear, but to harness the opportunity of the crisis. Who we are and what we learn in this crisis will define us, and we can't be defined by the fear and anxiety of it. I don't know what the world's going to look like on the other side of this. I don't think many people do. But I know that if we don't spend this time now trying to educate ourselves about how to invest in our future, whether it's somebody who's out of work, whether it's someone who needs some extra income, whether it's someone who always wanted to be a day trader, all those people who follow me and ask me, how can I do what you do? All those people, young people who are finding that, they now have the technical ability through the internet and through apps. Let's not talk about the bad apps, the good ones, to actually invest in themselves and one of my mottos is invest in stock, not stuff. We are a very consumer-based society. And I know that we don't have to have the next iPad, the next iPhone, the next pair of sneakers. I think it's important now that we need to sort of look at our lives, our sphere, our financial situation, and try and invest in the future, right? Because I don't want people to be sitting around in 6 months. I hope it happens sooner. It may happen later. After life opens up again and go, God, I really wish I spent that time while I was sitting at home fearful and anxious and not doing anything with my time, or just worrying and living in that spiritual fear, and did not take an opportunity to educate myself and to get a trade, which is what I'm talking about in the day trading world. Okay, so that's that part of it. And Steve and I connected. So I decided to put the Latino Wall Street people together with the Green Room Live, David Green, and we decided to put together a seminar to teach people basically day trading 101 for the most, not amateur, I don't like that word, for the most beginner in the industry, people who have never traded before, people who may be having trouble navigating this wild, volatile world, people who need a few $100s more a week or $500 a week to pay their bills, or someone who's just fascinated with the world of investment, whether you're 13, 16, 25, and 60, there's opportunity to learn something, whether you start trading now or in the future. It's an incredible thing to have. And I was so excited that Steve contacted me, said I was going to be on that call with George Lopez, Gabby, Anthony, and David Green. The webinar we did last Saturday, which will be available to be viewed online, and the course, which is a multi-segment, 6-week day trading course. And Steve's been on it. He's been watching it and viewing it. And so his excitement level, connected us. And that's why I'm here on the call, besides our other spiritual connection, I think, which happened automatically. But that's exciting for me. Thank you.
Yeah, you hit the box of nails through the board with one hammer swing on that one, Peter. Yeah, it's what I would like to do, and if you can go a little bit further, where are you guys at when it comes to the courses? Is the room closed now? Do you have everyone, or can people still sign up?
Okay, so we launched with the free webinar on Saturday, the course. Okay, so the course, our project, which people will be able to, first of all, the webinar that we did, which was free on Saturday, will be available at the end of the call. I will let everyone know how they can view it on the Wall Street University Facebook page and on other outlets to see basically that 2 hours with George Lopez. We talked about, some humor, talked about investing in our future, talked about education. And then David Green got technical with Gabby and I and Anthony and talked about what the course is about. Basically, it's going to be 6-week day trading course from 0 to 100, 101, for all the people, the brand newcomers and people who need help. So the course is available for sale. It's a 6-week course. It basically discusses risk management and money management, which is a way to make some money while preserving your capital. Then there's technical analysis, which is the basis of day trading. It's important to note for the people out there that, look, I trade stock on the floor of the stock exchange. My decision making is in allegiance with my customers' demand and desire on how they want to trade, are based on earnings of a company, on guidance of a company, on headlines, on the wild, volatile moves of the market. Okay, I listen to headlines and chatter and all the noise. That's my strategy of trading, and I do that on a daily basis. A day trader, which David describes very particularly, is someone who it doesn't really matter what the stock is. It does not matter about the headlines and the chatter and the tweets. They need to strictly focus on technical analysis. This is a way to protect yourself from the wild, volatile moves that we're seeing due to the stimulus, due to the pandemic, due to all the other things that are forcing the market to go up 1,000 points and down 1,000 points in a day. So at the end of the call, we'll be able to let people know that through Wall Street University, the course is available. If people talk that they heard here or that they had been on the call over the weekend, there's a discounted rate that we could probably address to some extent. The course was about $1,900. We gave it away. We gave it away for $900 over the weekend for those people on the call where Stephen was. Not only do we have that, because you can't really learn everything in 6 weeks, but you're going to have the videos at home. You can download them and watch them over and over again. And as Stephen will tell you, they're super exciting and fun, and it's really intriguing to learn. There will be once a month Q&As for people who, the difference between us and other trading schools is that other trading schools first charge a lot more money, but then once you've taken the course, you're on your own. They don't want to hear from you. We're hoping to try and create a family of and an open, transparent communication with the people who take the course and want to be part of the Green Room Live and the Wall Street University community. So we're going to be doing Q&As once a week for the 6 weeks of the course if people buy it right now, so that after you've watched the video, and I'm sure Steve will get on that call, you can ask questions to David, me, Anthony, or Gabby about stuff you saw that didn't make sense. Because the funny thing about online learning is if you come up against a red light that you don't understand, or a challenge or an obstacle, or you're completely shot, most people will just turn it off and go, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I can't get to the next step unless I have this question answered. We will be there once a week going forward and ongoing to answer those questions. Then we're going to be doing a boot camp, which will be a lab once a month for a week live. David Green will be teaching people with interaction on a call, whether it's a live video or it's just going to be live by voice, where you're going to have the next step. So once you've finished the videos and you want to go to the next step to really start trading, we have a boot camp. And then for those sort of VIP people who have shown commitment and shown that they really want to do this and have opened up accounts and really want to let David Green mentor them going forward, there will be for a different fee. There'll be the Green Room Live, which will be day trading with David Green, which is a chat room that opens up every morning at 8:30, and you get live trading with David. He takes you through his trades. He answers questions. So what's so amazing about this? It's like, you go to college, you go to high school, you take the course. Some things you're super interested, some you're not. But when you run up against things that seem intriguing, but you don't have all the answers, I think normal impulse is to just, either step over it and not really learn the fundamentals, or just say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore and drop out. We're hoping that people will take advantage of this full, long, carried through, transparent, honest approach to education about day trading, especially now, harnessing the time they're at home to be able to develop a skill, develop an art, whether they go on in the next 3 weeks, if they buy it now and start day trading with David, or they do it in 6 months or a year, or they decide that when they retire, they want some extra income. So that's where we're going with it.
I'm going to tell you, You got me so pumped up and excited as the first time when I was there with you and David on the live.
Great.
Seriously.
I'm so excited. It's, you started, look, I've started to learn a little bit about you. You're obviously a branding and marketing master. And, for me, I often take young people around the floor of the stock exchange. Before the pandemic, the stock exchange was never open to the public after 9/11, but people like myself, I took young high school kids around. I took people who came in who were customers of different brokerage firms. I've taken people from around the world around because a tour of the floor of the stock exchange. And I hope, Stephen, once we reopen to the press and to personal guests, you'll come and visit me. The room of the floor of the stock exchange, which opened in 1903, is truly the room where it happened. It's the greatest financial institution in the world. It is the energy and the adrenaline of what goes on the floor, of the history of it, the people who have walked the walk in that room, whether it's celebrities, heads of state, and or brokers and family members, the people who have made the investment community, what me included now, is extraordinary. So for me, whatever struggles I've had in my life over all these years, and I've been there since May 23rd, 1985, that is the room. I knew it when I walked onto the floor, day one. My family's not in the industry, but I got down there as a summer job as a teletypist in 1985. I knew that human element, that super high adrenaline, that think on your feet, freestyle personality that was inside of me just felt at home when I got down there. What's happened over all these years is people will come down and visit me and they'll go, I don't know anything about stocks. And I'll go, well, you're wrong. You do know. Everybody knows about stock because stocks are the companies of products we consume on a daily basis, right? So you've got whether, I ask you what fast food do you eat, you say Burger King, Mickey D's, Shake Shack. If I ask you what sneakers you wear, you say Under Armour or Nike. If I ask you what phone you have, you've got, Sprint or Apple. If I ask you what social media you're on, you're going to go, I'm on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook. If I ask you, what computer you own, it's, those things. Those are all products we consume on a daily, whether it's clothes, sneakers, social media, technology. Those are all public companies. All of you people out there know all about those things. If you're young, you probably know more about it than me. And these are the companies that started out in somebody's garage and they grew. They got a product, they built a company, and they went public. So the floor of the stock exchange is a branding, marketing logo on steroids, right? At any given time, as stocks trade and as the name of the company goes by with how many shares and the price, we get to see these incredible brands and logos go by that for me, I find to be exciting. And I know, Steve, as a PR person, as a media person, these are things that probably excite you too, right? Because branding, marketing, and advertising for me is one of the most exciting things in the world. It's a real, it keeps it fresh for me on a daily basis. So that's what the floor of the stock exchange is. And all of you out there should not be intimidated by the stock market, by investing in your future, by day trading per se, or by not using the incredible brands that are out there, because we are the ultimate consumer society, to find something in the nooks and crannies of these companies that excite you, right? People who invest as youngsters, people who I've mentored and taught, they always say, what should I invest in? And I always say to them, walk down the street, look what sneakers people wear, what computers they have, what phones they use, what social media they're on, and you guys know better than me what to invest in. Find companies that do things that excite you, whether it's gaming, whether it's hospitality, whether it's fast food, whether it's apparel. I'm willing to bet that, as I know, we as a consumer, what makes people go out and buy stuff? It's that something about the logo and the brand, something about the way things feel, make them be very loyal to brands. That's whether it's just the U.S. or it's the world. That is, for me, I find exciting, and I think we are deeply loyal consumers. And all these things that are part of our lives, whether it's Shake Shack, whether it's Nike, whether it's Apple, are public companies that if you find things exciting about Disney, ESPN, Netflix, Google, all these things are so ingrained in our life. And these are things, if you can go out there and watch financial TV and learn about what we're talking in our day trading course and check out companies and logos, and not only just buy a product that you love, but look around your room and see things that you always buy that you're loyal to. And then look those companies up on the internet. Are they sustainable? Are they treating their people right? Is this something that looks like there's something positive going to happen in the future? And then maybe instead of buying the next pair of sneakers, buy one share of Nike. Instead of getting the next iPhone 10, 11, I'm dating myself, keep the phone you have that's not broken and buy one share of Apple, right? If you're on Snapchat all the time, buy some Snapchat. You know what you use and consume. You know what your friends are into. Those are the companies that are going to grow, okay? So that's what I want people to get excited about, all these things that we buy and use on a daily basis, because all of them are public companies for the most part. And all of these things is that are going to, if you buy one share of Apple today instead of the next iPhone 11 that you don't always need, and you hold it for a year, you're going to be able to buy 3 iPhones. And if you don't spend $500 on that next pair of Nikes and you buy one share of Nike stock, at the end of the year, you can buy 3 pairs of sneakers. And that's what I talk about, investing in stock, not stuff. And I think that's super exciting. And so I think it's, whether we focus on this day trading school that we're doing is one thing. What I like to do is create, motivate, inspire people to love what I love, which is the stock market, is the brands and the logos that we consume, is the things that come at us as flags as we walk down the street every day. I'll leave it at that, Steve.
For anyone who may not know, how much would it cost someone for one share into a company?
Okay, so it really depends on the shares. So Apple stock is probably $250, $300. There are apps right now where you can invest fractionally. You can buy $50 worth of the stock, and that's kind of an amazing new opportunity. If you want to buy Nike, it's probably $50 to $80. That stock has gone from 30 to 200 a couple times and split. There are always opportunities to buy. Shake Shack probably trades in the $40s and $50. Snapchat's probably in the, $20. Let's talk about Blue Apron, let's say. Blue Apron, I'm sure everybody knows what that is. It's a company that makes prepared foods for you that can be shipped to your home. And I'm not recommending any stock. I'm just trying to give people, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an investment predictor. I don't pick stocks. But I want people to understand what stocks are and why they work the way they work. So let's just give a little example. Blue Apron is a company that makes food to be prepared at home to get people to, families to cook together. They sell you a box that gets delivered to your house. It's kind of like curated dinner where you can pick some kind of a food, whether you want meat, fish, or veggies. And then all the foods come all measured out, and then the family can get together and cook. The company came out at, I think, about $5 when they went public. The stock went to $9. And then as the space of prepared food delivery systems became very crowded, because Blue Apron was one of the first ones, then many of them joined on board, okay? The whole industry became crowded and the stock was not attractive, and they could not really figure out the business model. Well, so the stock went down to 1, okay? Now, since the pandemic, where people could not go out to restaurants and eat, and people were really spending a lot of time at home with their family and getting bored with the cooking that they do, Blue Apron skyrocketed. Okay, what a funny, wild experience. Who would have thought? Short of the pandemic, the stock was doing poorly. They couldn't figure out how to make money with their business model. The pandemic comes along, and the need for a prepared, fun alternative to buying food at the store, which you couldn't go out to, and having a fun meal with your family became an incredible opportunity. And the stock went from 3 to 20. I don't even know. So all different stocks have all different prices. I think it's more important to pick an amount of money that people have that's disposable. Okay. As I said to you, if you're thinking about learning how to day trade, David Green's course does not really care what the stock is, because we're in a crisis situation and stocks move around. We don't know what the future is going to look like. He trades stocks on technical analysis. Technical analysis is inputting pivotal points in graphs, which, Stephen, you will learn as you're watching these videos, that has nothing to do with how this company's doing right now, or what the chatter is on globally or domestically, or headlines or tweets or stimulus or anything. It's when a stock sets up within technical analysis that it's overbought, oversold, far from its moving average, looks good for a long-term or trade. There are all different things that set up within technical analysis, which you'll learn in the course, that eradicates all. You don't listen to all the chatter and noise. You focus on technical analysis, which is David's strategy, and it's been used for years and years, and it's back tested and it's dated. It's basically historic data that's proved if stocks do this, irrespective of what they make, what they do, and the time we're in. If a stock sets this way up within a graph situation of moving averages and all the other technical things we will teach you, a stock is time to buy it. The probability is if you buy it, you will make money. And the probability is if you sell it, you can make money. And our goal by David's process is to try and make small increments consistently with patience and fundamentals and technical analysis, and preserve your capital on the way down. David's premise is to not turn a winning trade into a losing trade. There are 9% of the people out there who don't know the fundamentals of day trading, who buy a stock and they use hope as their strategy. Hope is not a strategy. You may think it is, but it's not. You cannot hope your way into a stock going up. But if you follow the rules and you put in the stop orders, which we will explain in the course, to protect yourself from losing, you will identify your ultimate risk on the downside, keep that to a minimum, protect your capital. You're going to be able to make money on a consistent basis with Mr. Green and the Wall Street University, and have fun at the same time. You may decide you want $200 a week. At the end of your day, if you've made your $50 to $100, you shut it down and you move on and go on with your day. If you make a losing trade and today turns out to be a bad day, you shut your machine off and keep moving on. So it's a long answer to your question, but you can buy stocks for $5, $10, and $3,000, which, Tesla just broke 3,000 the other day. So there are lots of opportunities for everyone out there.
The number one question everyone's going to have, and I know I had it, how long do you stay in a stock?
Well, that's completely determined by David's technical analysis. The wonderful thing about technical analysis is it tells you when to buy a stock. It tells you when to sell a stock. Mr. Green, David, who I've known for 35 years, is paramount in risk management and money management. He will tell you that if a trade is not working, you get out, preserve your capital, and move on. But the key is everybody can get into a trade. The key to preserving capital and making money is how to exit a trade. And technical analysis will teach you that, right? The bottom line is you set a standard on how much you want to make, 50 cents or $1 or $2, okay? You put protection against the stock going against you at 50 cents or $1 to identify how much you can lose. And then once the stock starts going in your favor, you start getting out. We believe in hitting singles and doubles and not waiting around for a home run. You can, and as I said, the key is to not turn a winning trade into a losing trade. So let's just give anybody an example. If I buy a stock at $50 because technical analysis told me to do it, at $50.50, I start selling it. At $51, I'm out. I rang the cash register. I made my $50, $100, $200, depending on what parameters I set with through the course and with David. And then I have my profit and loss screen is green for the day, and I move on. Okay. If I buy something at 50 cents, I immediately put in a stop order, which is a protection against it going against me at $49.50. So if I buy 10 shares at $50 and I put a stop order in at $49.50, that's down 50 cents from where I bought it. If it goes against me, I know my maximum loss will be $50. My maximum profit will be 50 cents and $1 on the way up. So that's the key. This is not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a guarantee you're going to make money on every trade. But the bottom line is we're not going to turn winning trades into losing trades. We're not going to turn an acceptable profit into an unacceptable loss. And we should, on a consistent basis, through the probability of technical analysis, make money more times than we lose money. And at the end of the day, that leaves green on the screen and a profitable week at the end of the week.
Love it. No, and the biggest thing of it is, Peter, the stop order video, as I told you before, I watched that twice. All of this is super easy. Once again, I see this in my head from a real estate experience, realtor mindset. Also from an experience understanding real estate from a legal aspect. And what I do enjoy with the videos is how you and David have partnered and teamed up. It really creates a wonderful balance and synergy. But the stop order, David had referenced also in Rules of Day Trading Part 1, also in Rules of Day Trading Part 2. Keep in mind, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going in my 7th video. However, once again, the videos are super, super, super easy. Why? Because anyone, whether you are patient, not patient, or your time is precious, or you have all the time on your hands, these videos range anywhere from 6, 7 minutes up to, like, say 12 minutes. And I'm going to tell you, the way that they are broken down, to not have to sit and watch a 20-minute video, a half-hour video, is so refreshing.
You know what? I really appreciate that. And that was really the mastery of Gabby and Anthony, too, because, hyper-focus is important. Learning these things, they're not that complicated. You don't need to hear about each one of them for an hour. The bottom line is repetition is the greatest teacher. So if you, in 7 or 8 minutes, cannot be explained how it works to buy a stock on a moving average trade, or to learn about stop orders on a stock that's going against you to protect your capital, then we are not doing our job. And if you give somebody a short-term, simple solutions and rules 1 through 10, boom, you know the answer, and you watch it over and over and over again. And what you'll see, too, in some of the testimonials is people who came into David's class, some who never traded before, some who are working 15 days on, 50 days off in the oil business. Some people who are in Australia and had traded and always lost a lot of money, is that if you follow that they got super excited with David's school. They started to trade, listened to David, made some money, and then they got a little bit cocky. And then they stepped out of the box and stopped listening to the rules, and they ended up losing again. So there are a million people out there trying to teach you. There are a million different, classes and courses and strategies and whatnot. David is not slinging around big dollars and bragging about how much money. He's in the room trading with people, 10 shares, 50 shares, 100 shares. He's there predicting, planning a strategy to make $200 a day, $500 a day. What seems reasonable for virtually anybody. And the whole point is he's an educator. That's his mission. He doesn't really need to be doing this. The banter between David and I is really kind of fun. Me being a trader on the floor for 35 years, we have a friendship that goes back to the beginning, and him being the teacher, him the educator. All I am is the face and the connector. And then Gabby and Anthony, who are marketing branding masters, they've organized these videos in a way, and the whole platform, to make it easily accessible to everybody and whatnot. But I wanted to touch on it for a minute, because I love the fact that what excited you about it was the relationship, how you looked at it relative to real estate. And I never thought of that. When you and I want to relate that to how I want people to get it. Day trading is one thing, but how I want people to get excited about public companies and the stock market overall. Investing, which I don't advise. I think everyone should do it. I am not an advisor on it, but you described how if you look at the market and stocks, the way you look at a house, then it opens a whole new door to people. And I think there will be people, because so many people have been in real estate at some level or not. So many people who are struggling have tried to find those get rich quick schemes in real estate, and something about it may have intrigued them. But you talked about, you look at a house, then you pull it up on the internet and you see all of its assets. You see what it's got going for it, the positive and negatives, right? You see how much people want for it, how quick it is to sell it, and whether, you make your determination whether this is a situation you want to be involved in, right? You're an expert in real estate, so you were able to understand how once you look in the nooks and crannies of a piece of real estate or a stock, that it excites you. I want this to be something that people want to wake up in the morning to, and it just gets their juices flowing. And then on top of that, learning a skill, and on top of that, maybe a way to make a couple $100 a week. How exciting is that? And then to harness this time, as I said before, we can either let this crisis define us as an event, or we can let it be defined as an opportunity. Okay? And I know you're a spiritual guy, and I know, that you love looking at people as entities who are there to create, motivate, and inspire by sharing experience. And you talked about, and one of the things I watched that you were talking about is how you're able to identify someone's assets and someone's liabilities and and level of spirituality and empowerment. And that's how you become the best PR person for them, right? And that's a belief for me, that I think, everybody is full. There's fear and anxiety. There is ego and anxiety, and self-esteem. I mean, they're all the challenges that we go through on this journey, right? And, some people come from privilege and they got no problem, but they're not always happiest people in the world. And then there's some people who are just sort of on a road that maybe they would rather not be on. Perhaps we're going to give them a new opportunity. But you talk about it, and I've been watching you because I find you fascinating, is that, and a lot of motivational speakers will talk about it too, that, inside all of us is that, that inner motivated, inspired, creative person, that if we can just sort of pull apart, the shell that we put up to protect us against sadness and hurt and all this other stuff, then it's amazing. We're seeing it now in the world so many ways, in young entrepreneurs and in startup companies, that in the nooks and crannies, can, focus, and we can get rid of fear and anxiety and self-esteem issues and really try and find out what is our calling, right? Then there's no stopping us. It's amazing what we can do, right? It's like you do with a lot of your clients. You can unlock their best person, right? Be their best self. That's what makes you really good at what you do. And that's what I'm trying to do here.
And why it works so well, Peter, and especially for me in the testimony that I have is, and once again, you said everything perfectly with great understanding, compassion, and reasoning, is that people underneath all of the stuff that is on the surface, two things, and this is a medical scientific fact: human beings, for the most part, either move towards pleasure or move away from pain. But in a world that we live in, most people have no problem staying in pain, or known as fear, because if someone believes that something is already working, why take the risk, no matter how good it sounds or is being sold as? Why take the risk to change, to get involved in the unknown? What does that mean? If they've got to learn a new behavior pattern, if they've got to change the time that they wake up, whatever it is, people are scared of the most minute, smallest of changes that could happen because they don't understand or fear the outcome, the control of the end game. And that's the mind, if I can say, the mind fuck that most people have is, sometimes we as human beings get so conditioned that we have an idea of the belief that we know that we're going to control the outcome, when realistically you just don't.
You know what? We're on the same page on that every possible way. You know, it's amazing how we're more comfortable living in a state of denial and in a state of fear, because it's actually it's our default. And we're very comfortable with it, even though it's not a comfortable, positive way to be. But the fear of change, the fear of the unknown it becomes the boogeyman in so many ways that I think there are a lot of people who are not realizing their ultimate potential, right? It's about potential. And so and this is something I've learned along. I didn't always have it, but it's something I've learned along the way that, look, there's fear, right? False evidence appearing real, right? So much of the things we're scared of, if we just dipped our toe in, what's the worst that will happen? We'll realize, okay, we were right. It's worth fear. But on the other hand, the chances are that if we give it a shot and we give it a chance, that it's not as bad as we thought, and it's actually a bridge to much different things. Change is scary for everybody. I've been, to give my own personal experience, so on May, I've had an extraordinary life, right? My parents are Holocaust survivors, came here in 1950. I grew up on the Upper West Side to a privilege. My father was a doctor, and my mother was an extraordinary woman who had lived through some of the worst horrors on earth, and had come out positive people. Many people who lived through what my parents lived through, 4 years of incarceration in a concentration camp, came out deeply angry and ghettoized in their minds. My parents, who found each other after the war, fell in love, came to America, realized their American dream, had a couple kids, and lived every day. I always ask my mom, how did you get through that? Her 75 members of her family were murdered. My father's mother was killed in front of her. They were in prison, living in a concentration camp in Auschwitz for 4 years. How did you do it, Mom? And she would just say, a day at a time. I knew there was something on the other side. So, and they came here and they instilled in me this thing that every day is a new day, that, and it always has not always really been easy, but, I've had challenges along the way. My most recent challenge was getting sick with COVID. So, I have a beautiful wife. I have 2 children. I have an extraordinary job on the floor of the stock exchange, which has been my career for many, many years. I try and mentor young people to be excited, as we've talked about Wall Street and whatnot. I mentor young artists, who's been part of my new world since I got on social media. Gentleman King Saladin, Mr. E, Layer Cake. There's some young street artists from Philly, from New York, people in the Afro-American community like Stedfree Richardson. People are trying to empower other people. This has been my life of service and empowerment over the last couple of years. And, I lost my mom. She was 93. She was amazing 5 years ago. My brother died at the age of 61 3 years ago of cancer. That was devastating for me. My dad died at 97 last year. These were challenges I went through, but, it's life, right? Life on life's terms. And I got through them. They were challenges at the time, but I knew that nothing but getting up, waking up, and getting off my feet. It's not a matter how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up. I got up and I kept moving, right? And I was trying to be of service to others. My father, a humanist, an amazing man who had lived through what he lived through, was all about kindness and love and forgiveness for everyone else. That was what I was instilled with. And I thought, okay, so I've just hit some challenges. This is something. Let's see. Maybe now, God only gives you as much as you can handle. Well, he had given me a lot, right? And then I thought, okay, maybe we'll get a little break here. I'll just keep going with my job. Things are great. And then my wife ended up getting cancer. And that was one of the greatest challenges in my life for her and me and the family. And we got through that. And we kept it moving. Once again, gratitude, empowerment, waking up every day. and being of service to others is the key, right? And then I thought, okay, well, now look, it's pain, touchstone of spiritual growth. If pain is a touchstone of spiritual growth, I'm really spiritual these days. And then on March 13th, we start seeing the COVID virus come over the hills, over the dales from China here, causing fear and havoc and death and disease throughout the world. And on March 15th, God would have it that I end up getting the virus. And I've had quite a bad run with it. I was severely ill, and definitely touched the outer levels of existence in so many ways. I ended up getting meningitis. The virus attacked almost every organ in my body. I was sick for 2+ months, and I was locked in my house for 60 days without my wife and kids. I could not see anybody. I was sick, 103.7 for days and days and days, and really felt like I was going to die. I was lucky enough to have the privilege of wonderful doctors who kept me out of the hospital and kept me alive, right? And then what I ended up seeing was that that there were so many, once I sort of came out of the clouds and the darkness of it, right? And there's always two sides of a situation. It's your choice whether when bad things happen and you experience life on life's terms, you can stay in that darkness, or you can realize that the only way out is through. And I kind of, once I had been through this, I realized, I can let this thing take me down. I can let this define me in the darkest way, or I can turn it around. And so I started realizing that listening to people out there, nobody was sharing their experience about the virus. Nobody was talking about surviving it. Everybody thought if you're old, you die. If you're young, you got over it. But it turned out there were hundreds of thousands of people out there, like myself, much less privileged, did not have all these doctors talking them through the dark nights, who were going through deep spiritual, emotional, physical challenges. And so I decided to share my story, that I was somebody acknowledging my privilege of having doctors taking care of me, but acknowledging the deep physical challenges that I have, and sharing my story with others who did not have all the benefits along this devastating journey of this devastating virus. And I found an incredible support and empowerment from all those people who said to me, Peter, thank you for sharing your story, because no one else is talking about that. Surviving it, recovering from it, and the challenges that are going. There's no playbook for this thing. And so that kind of, I realized that I had to turn the tables on the negative, sick part of Peter and go into recovery mode. So I just started, the timeline went from how many days I've been sick to day one recovery of this virus. And that's been a spiritual journey since then. And that's, and that's taken me where I am today. I'm still suffering from a lot of the residual parts of the virus and whatnot. But it's just a matter of perspective. It's a matter of waking up every day and realizing that there are people out there, everybody at some level has experienced this crisis. We can either let it take us down, or we can use this to catapult the next dimension. That what we do with this time, and I'm not just touting the day trading school, I'm talking about a spiritual message. What we do with this time now, right? We don't know what the world's going to look like on the other side of this. As I said, I don't think before in history has there ever been a crisis that's affected every human on earth. But there are going to be winners, losers, and survivors. It's a matter of what we do right now. And most of us are still, to some level, still locked in at home, still not back at our jobs, still fear and anger, our financial fear, not knowing whether we have a job. We can't let this thing define us. This is pivotal right now. So whatever people need, we need to really reach out, and that's what you and I are doing, to them on a spiritual, emotional, financial, personal level, to say, you know what? This shit is crazy. This is, I've never seen this before. Everybody's at some level of fear and anxiety. But what we do right now, right, is going to define what our lives look like on the other side. We can turn the narrative around and come at it from a positive spiritual basis. We can reach out and help another person. We can educate ourselves on the next stage of our lives, right? We can talk to each other, share our message, right? And that's where peace and serenity will come from. Is when we can, it's not a matter of who dies with the most toys. How much can we affect another person's life? Because me affecting their life is going to affect my life, right? I can't give something away. I can't keep something. The spiritual fortitude, being Peter Tuchman, having the family I had, surviving all these challenges, if I don't give it away, right? And that's what you do. You're out there giving a positive message. You're out there building people's personas, right? And trying to find that inner strength, that your best self in the nooks and crannies of everyone. So I really appreciate this opportunity for you to let me share this message and connect, because I you just hearing your voice gives me that feeling like we're doing something good here, and that's what it's about.
What I keep hearing over, or let me rephrase, what I kept hearing over and over and over again as you were sharing is hope, hope, hope. And if anyone is wondering, well, what does he mean by spirituality, or what does he mean? It really means a lot to say that the only thing that I can relate this to is 9/11, is that the world has gone and lost its hope. And that's why you're here. That's why I was saying a prayer in my head, like, is there more? Is there more? What is more with this message that Peter is sharing? About his family, about your mom, about your wife and the cancer. And there are times that I truly believe God puts people into the world that don't need to have a verbal message. It's just the presence alone speaks more volumes of what they're here for. And you're here for hope, even if it is not translated by the mouth. Just your simple presence, your wife's presence, and your parents' presence. We're here for hope.
I really appreciate that. That you shut me down with that one.
Didn't mean to. It's true. I feel it.
I love that message, and that you're so right. And and I don't want to. What everyone's going through is crazy, and I always acknowledge that. We don't know what people's journey is. We don't know what this experience has done to everyone. We don't know people's reaction to it, right? But one of the great things, it's like, life happens. It's not a matter of what we do. It's a matter of our reaction to it, right? And I promise you that there are people who are going through a journey fraught with so much, right? Who didn't start with what I had, and, maybe sitting there going, well, how, he's talking from that pedestal or whatever it is. At the end of the day, the spiritual journey has nothing to do with finance or whatnot. But I'm trying to spread that feeling of hope, right? That within everyone's experience, there are choices we can make, right? And life is precious. I've learned that, right? And it's not a matter how many times you get knocked. I'm also a big proponent of the fact that just get out there and try to find some hope, whatever it is. Wake up every day that it's a new day. Don't go to sleep angry, right? And don't think that you can't do anything, right? That's the hope part of it, right? So, wonderful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I'm going to honestly say, and to tie this in, when the opportunity came for me to meet you and David and Gabby and Anthony, and when the opportunity that was presented when George Lopez was hosting, I knew I was supposed to be there. I had no expectation. I encourage everyone to please start living life there's a difference between hope and expectation. Hope is so open-ended, but expectation, it's like we really don't always know what's best for us. And I will say that I couldn't wait for Anthony, and all due respect, I adore Anthony, but I couldn't wait for him and everyone else just to Be quiet and tell me what I need to do so I can sign up and get this course started, because I wanted to start like 15 minutes into it.
Fantastic. You know what? That's so. I love that. I'm so happy that you got that feeling. Look, there were people on the call. There are a lot of people who have expectations. You know, money is a funny thing. Okay, making money is, and not everyone is at the same in the same situation. But it's funny when people lay your point about expectation is so profound, because if you have expectations, you're just setting yourself up for a lot of goddamn resentment. But if you have hope and you give things a try, and that's the whole point of this course too, is that we're not selling you some big box of flowers. We're selling you an idea that you can make $100 a day, 200, or just learn something that you may want to have in the future, right? At the end of the day, or just learn from. You may not end up ever doing that, but we've got this really wonderful. I'm a firm believer in teamwork, right? And what people will see when they go on, it's www.disruptwallstreet.com, or whether it's wallstreetuniversity.com, or you DM me on Instagram at the Einstein of Wall Street and ask me a question or ask me how to connect to these guys, or you listen to the message of Gabby and Anthony, who are what do you call them? Champions of the Latino community, to educate them and better them. The wonder that we were able to connect with George Lopez, who I met in 2017. He was doing an A&E special about being very super. It was a show for A&E. He heard that through the grapevine that I was a superstitious guy. If people want to watch it, it's very funny. It's A&E, very superstitious, episode money. I'm at the end where he and I spend the day on the floor of the stock exchange. And that's where our connection started. But I brought him in to basically, because I know he's all about empowering, whether it's the Latino community or anybody. I know that he's trying to harness the time we are in at the moment, not to let the crisis define us. So I'm the connector. I'm not the educator. I think I'm not touting my own stuff, but one of my abilities is I know so many people. My incredible life and journey has introduced me to, whether it's celebrity, whether it's people in education, in the markets, or art, or whatever. I've met so many people who are on a positive spiritual mission about creating, motivating, and inspiring. And that's actually a company started by King Saladin and Kevin Carter. That's, if you can look them up, they're amazing too, about empowering communities, serving the underserved, underbanked, all this kind of stuff. But I put together this team because David is an incredible educator on top of being a great day trader. Gabby and Anthony have a wonderful message of empowerment and service to their community. George was there for the night just to share his experience and we love him to death, and to talk about educating, how that was something coming from his experience he wants to tell people about. And me, I'm a wild and crazy guy. I've had an extraordinary life. I come from a powerful past of challenges and triumph, and I've had a wild, crazy journey in my life, same way, with failure and triumph and success. And so this persona that I've developed at the Einstein of Wall Street and the most notable guy on stock exchange, it's all fun and good, and I love being on front pages and all that stuff, but that it's necessary to be more to it. I can do more with it, right? It's a matter of not just what you get, it's a matter of what you do with it. And through all these challenges that I've had, and the grief and anxiety and fear that I also have, and I always have not been successful on this journey, I realize that if I'm able to take my persona and my experience, strength, and hope, and share that to do some good and to help and empower other people, well, there's nothing better, right? Random act of kindness will keep you in the light, right? And always come from a loving place, and being a humanist, right? It's a matter of not who dies with the most toys. It's a matter of I can change in some positive way somebody's life, along this journey, well, that's the cash and prizes. That's the cash and prizes. So, and I hear that in your voice too. Look, you represent a lot of powerful people. You've done so many things, and you're obviously an expert at a lot of things. Yet there's a spiritual message, right? And this isn't Joel Osteen, right? We're talking some factual stuff about educating and inspiring and motivating people to be their best self, right? And I try and do it for me. I reach out to people like you and to other people in my sphere for that same kind of empowerment. I don't wake up every day, like that I drank the Kool-Aid. There are days where, I need to start my day over again. There are days that I wake up and the clouds are out, right? But I've learned through all my spiritual mentors and the incredible career I've had on Wall Street and the young artists who I work with and young people who want to be like me, as crazy as that may seem, and be on Wall Street and or trade or want to know about my journey here. Well, that's the gift, sharing with another human being. And if we can empower other people to be their best self and to learn a skill and to have some fun and make a little money on the side, that's the cash and prize.
It's real empowerment.
It is. Indeed.
Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out surely to the team of David Green and Gabby and Anthony and George Lopez, who I'm so happy was part of that journey. There are some people in my life, young artists who I reached out. I gave a shout out to King Saladin, somebody who has been an inspiration, and Kevin Carter. It's to my family, who has to live on a daily basis. And that's a challenge in its own right. But, we learn from each other. And I think that's another thing that people need to, this is an extraordinary time. People have been forced to be confined with their family members, right? And I think it's funny. People should. George Lopez just released a Netflix special, which came out a week ago, and that was why I was so amazed he took the time to be with us. But one of the funniest parts of the special is that he said, you never really need to look further than your own backyard to get a lot of humor, anxiety, fear, and craziness. He said, some of my relatives are the craziest motherfuckers in the world. Right. And my uncle was the funniest one of all. So, family is super important, and I deep shout out to my family and surely to my parents too, and to the floor of the stock exchange. They've carried me when I was going through a lot of stuff. Right. The team of people I work with on the floor, whether the people in my company or the NYSE community, have been wonderful to me all along. God, for sure. I'm a big wake up and pray kind of guy. I know you can start your day over again. So, and a shout out to you. I'm so glad you reached out. This for me is kind of a special interview because sharing what we're sharing is the real deal shit here for me, and that's important to me.
What would you like to do in your time right now? Do you feel that we should have more live episodes regarding topics of stock market, or do you have any other goals that you think should be more out there for people to have access to on radio?
Well, you know what? I mean, I think we're going about it in the right way. I think that, as I said, I cannot presume to understand or know what people are going through. Okay? It came to my vision when I realized that there are hundreds of thousands of people out there still suffering from this virus. There are hundreds of thousands of people who have lost loved ones. There are people who are out of work. There is the 1% of people who are, trading the market and come from money and have more money now, and it's all fine and good for them. But, I'm a firm believer that whether we talk about the spiritual journey, whether we talk about the facts of creating an educational program. These are two things that we don't need to divert from our primary purpose here, which is to help people wake up in the morning and find something they love to do, and to give them a skill and an art and a trade that they may use now, that may open doors to them to other things, right? As I said to you, for me, having found something I love to do, I never work a day in my life, right? When my mom died, my mother told me, cry and go to work. When I've gone through my challenges, I went to work, because the energy and the adrenaline that I get from being in a room for the stock exchange with other human beings is the motivator for me, surrounded by all that goes on in my business. It's like one-stop shopping for just the greatest experience in the world, right? I go in there because it's the adrenaline for my life. It motivates me. I look around that room, which is full of history, full of branding and marketing, full of consumerism, full of human beings in a humans having a spiritual experience. And that's where I go. I really want people to find something they love to do. And what an opportunity. As I keep saying, we can let this pandemic and crisis define us as just some event that happened, and suddenly in 3 to 6 months, I hope it's not longer, we're going to look at this and go, shit, why didn't I spend that time more constructively? Or, oh my God, I went through some challenges, what do I do now? And utilize this time, right? And that's kind of why you and I connected. It's why I connected, the Latino Wall Street people and David Green. And I don't think we need to go farther than that. Would love to talk to you. The spiritual message, it could be done on a daily basis. We could have people call in and ask us, what do I do? This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm scared about. And we could talk them through that. There are people who are going to want to learn this trade as you, and going to be thrilled that they're going to be able to call David Green up, or Gabby or Anthony or me up, and go, I'm at the crossroads. I can't figure this out. Can you help me get over this obstacle? And we're going to be able to help them do that. So I think the more we do that, we're going to learn what people really want. And I don't think we need to, look further than our own backyard.
I love that. And honestly, I really encourage everyone to look into this more, really sit with yourself and ask yourself, is this something that can really benefit you now or long term? I'm going to share with my testimony that I have no expectations in this except to learn. What do I mean is I did not attend this event, this seminar, on the sole purpose of thinking I'm going to get rich quick. I did not sign up and buy the course, the 6-week course, because I was thinking, all right, what do I need to do quickly? With haste or any type of irrational thought of, all right, I'm going to consider this a gambling matter. I'm going to consider this whatever strategic, leverage to get money fast. This is not. David expresses this very, very deeply and passionately. You've got to have fun. He said that on the live when we were all there on 4th of July, as you know, Peter. You got to have fun with it and just start small.
Correct. It really is. It's just, it's like, if anybody has a memory of, going to high school and having a great teacher, that you just wanted to learn, right? Or going to college and having a professor in a subject that you picked, as an elective because it was just what you wanted to know about your whole life. And that the teacher was just inspiring and met you after class, and helped you do some mentoring and, did some independent studies. It's amazing to be able to learn from someone whose primary purpose is to teach you, and someone who loves what they love to do. And then to have that in accordance with me, who loves what they do also, and Gabby and Anthony, who are all about service and making it accessible and easy, like you've found through the videos. There's nothing better. It's so exciting. No expectations, just an experience that you can have, right? And, you can take it where you want to take it, right? It's just take what you want and leave the rest, whether in any way it is. If nothing else, you're going to have a whole bunch of fun and learn a bunch of stuff. If not, you're going to become part of a community that's having fun. As David describes in the videos, I'm sure you heard, there is nothing scarier than the first time you press that button and you buy 10 shares of stock. But there is nothing more exciting when that stock goes up 50 cents and you lock in a profit of $50 and you go home green and you go, oh my God, that's incredible, right? So what's better than that?
I'm excited. I'm super excited. And I'm going to tell you, I, as you know, and I'm going to leave it with this, all of this in my head, God just has blessed me because I was like, how do I understand this? But I didn't own it to stress about it. Once again, I didn't own it to stress about it. I'm like, all right, how do I understand this? And every single detail brought it back to real estate. So I encourage anyone who takes this course, anyone who gets in contact with you, Peter, is to just find something you're passionate about. It could be sewing. It could be fashion. It can be anything. What is it that you already know about business? What is it that you already know about life or lifestyle or living that you can incorporate into this reasoning and easy common sense? And the way David breaks it down, and I just got to share some of these points here, if I may, real quick, Peter. Yep. Do not make a trade unless the charts tell you. To me, what that says, if you're going to buy a house, are you going to buy when the interest rates are extremely high, or are you going to buy when the interest rates are extremely low? Second, do not listen to what other people are saying about the market and what to invest in. When you are working with the real estate agent or realtor or a brokerage, okay, you've got to make the final decision. You can go over all the charts. You can go over all the comps. You can go over all the comparables, whatever it may be, what the neighbors are saying, what your family's saying. But ultimately, you've got to decide, is this going to work for you, your income, your life, your lifestyle, your family? And is it going to, most importantly, work for your future? Because it's not just about now, it's about later. You don't need to figure out later, but at least try to understand, if you're going to get yourself in some type of debt, if you're going to get yourself in an investment, what could the possibilities look at if you don't have a safeguard up? And that goes back to the what I absolutely love here, and I can go over the video over and over again, is the stop orders, because that's the number one thing I want to ingrain in my head. Everyone needs to know when it comes to the stock market that David had said. You had said, Peter, it's the first and immediate thing you have to do. Immediate.
When you buy stock, you put in a stop order. It's called risk management. It's the most amazing thing you will learn.
Don't expect to win on every trade. We don't have to be a superhero here. We are not Superman. We are not Wonder Woman, Next, there are 1,000 technical indicators on a chart. Even if no one understands that, when it comes to real estate perspective, the market can change at any time. Banking institutions, lending institutions, everyone will have a different variable for you and the potential investment, whether you're owning, to buy, rent, sell, whatever it may be. Don't project your personal life into trading. If you are having a bad day, don't trade. If you are having a bad day, why load up on junk food? Why binge on alcohol? Why go out and start driving? Chill, relax, and do everything with a clear mind. 2 more. Don't be under the influence when trading. I was surprised, but not surprised, Peter, that anyone would even trade while under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Not a good thing.
But I'm sure it's happened, because he wouldn't have said that if it didn't happen.
No, and I think David keeps saying that this is, you take it seriously, right? It's about money. It's about your future. So it needs to be taken seriously. Go ahead, finish your last.
Last one, hope is not a strategy. You already covered on that. And I actually was thinking about that because I always, as we were talking about and I was sharing about you and how you and your family are here of hope. But when I think of this reference when it comes to trading it's the idea of wishful thinking. And when I think of hope on the other side of the rainbow, if you're not feeling passionate about something, if you're feeling uncertain about something, don't do it. You've got to be absolutely clear and passionate about within your hope that this is your goal, this is what I'm looking forward to. But once again, leave out the expectations, but have a definitive plan, but do your best not to try to control the outcome to expect, because once again, if you have no control over the numbers and what's going to happen in the world, what's going to happen in the stock market, what other people are doing, just only do something when you know you're in a place of balance, clarity, and in a place to where you just are not putting too much pressure on yourself to expect something that may not happen. That's it.
Perfect. The word, which is not a sort of a sympathetic word, but works on the stock market, is probability. When we make decisions, risk decisions in life, we do them all the time, whether it has something to do with trading or the stock market, or it has to do with going out for a drive when you're drinking, or it has to do with a relationship. It's your risk-reward ratio. We should be doing things having weighed out the probability that it's going to be a success. There's also risk. We want to go out on a limb. We've talked about it through this conversation. There are things that you and I have talked about. Hope is a great strategy for life because it gives you some faith. You go out in faith and hope, and you're going to try things you wouldn't necessarily do. But when you're trading stocks, this is really a job. This is something you take seriously. Hope is not a strategy, and you need to get into things that you've done the homework, know that the probability is this is going to work, right? If you make money 51% of the time, you're a winner, okay? You don't have to be a 70% winner. You don't have to hit home runs all the time. But let's be clear, you and I have talked about a lot of things relative to life and emotions and spiritualness and empowerment and all that, and that's one strategy, and that's beautiful. The day trading concept and the day trading strategy is actually a different thing. There's no hope strategy for that, and it's a matter of probability. When we get into a trade, we've already established how much we can lose, and we're looking for the best upside. We're there to preserve our capital. But what I want people to do is learn the rules, learn the game, and try and have fun with it and make as much money as they can. And that's it, with no expectations. If you learn, you'll take this with you forever and ever.
Peter Tuchman, everyone.
Fantastic, Steve Kukyo.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.
Empowering listeners from the US to the UK. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco.